Hey guys, this is Simon with Trade and Perform Coaching. Okay, just real quick, want to jump in. Here's how the day broke out. If you look, we opened up. The blue is the single prints from the profile, and you can see that provided great resistance up into the top. Very choppy, very grindy in the morning. I thought it should have been short up there, but man, it was hard to hold. The natural target, if you were shorting up there, was the 50-60 retrace. This is all these yellow dotted lines show where the prior day's fair value area is, and it's in. If you're not in an ultra bull market, these fair values get traded through. We got traded through to the downside. We hit the first support zone. You can see overnight the support zone held. We blasted through. We came to the next support zone, that purple zone right there. We found responsive buyers two times. Right here, I'll make it wider. We found responsive buyers two times, one time with an orange bar, one time with a green bar, pushed up and up into resistance, right? This should have acted as support. Prior support now equals resistance. We rejected out of that three times, rolled through. Again, the purple, it's a support resistance zone, but it's not as strong as a green zone. That's how I distinguish which ones are strong and which ones are not strong. We came down. We did not get, on the 24 tick, we did not get an algo long there the first time. We did get an algo here, here, and here the third time. And I should have probably dragged that zone down just a hair lower to that 24,995. I should have made that adjustment. I didn't. And then we get responsive buyers up and out to the upside, right? So I want to cover that I want to cover the trades real quick. Let's say you were going to trade in support and you're going, let's look at which bars worked when we were in there. I think is pretty important, right? From the 24 tick. So what you want to do is marry the support zone with the algo. Orange bar up. Did it get you to scale? It most certainly did. Was it in the zone? Yes. This orange bar, if you made a mistake, was a stop. You lost, let's call it 18 ticks. You're probably about break even here, right? And this third trade inside the zone, the green bar with the orange blue up, took you from roughly 25,070 to 25,120, 50 points, right? More than putting you in the profitability, right? Here's where you got hurt. This is a stop minus 18. This, if you took this, you'll see it's actually below the zone, but it'd have been understandable if you had taken it just based on the squares. It's still not a problem, right? This is a loss. This is a loss. Unless you just super scalped out of it. I don't think anybody realistically would have done it. We'll call it a loss. This is a long here that actually stopped out. I actually took this trade and got stopped. And there was two ways to handle this. So I want to show it. I covered this in the room earlier today. That was a really strong up bar. So there's two ways to handle it. You can continue to take the green variation algos behind it, green, orange, blue, etc. But the trade I would have preferred when you get a strong volume bar stopped out would be the algo above it, which would have been this white bar. I thought that was the better long. You can see we come back in to the downside. You get yellow star stuffed twice, yellow star here, yellow star stuffed. Neither one of them stuffed by an algo. And again, if you look at this, you want your strongest buyer stopped out. Strongest buyer stopped out. Come across, orange bar long. And again, over here in the afternoon, who did you get stopped out? It's really this guy right here, and you got no options on the long side trade. And I said this in the room. I thought that orange square there was probably a pretty good short for new lows. And you can see we just took out, or we attempted to take out the lows. We didn't quite make it to the new lows, and we trapped again on that 24,995. There was no algo there for the long, unfortunately. And that's how we ended out the day. I don't think anybody would have taken that bar. So that's how the algos played out, right? They really help you find location. If you can read the PA a little bit better, they certainly help. If you wanted to be on the short side, there was algos that set that up. I trade primarily on the long side of the trade, unless I'm just absolutely confident we're going lower. The other thing I wanted to point out in the room, guys, is look, when we have price get underneath VWAP and then get underneath the 200 period moving average, you're going to find very often that price falls away from that. And you can see it never revisited VWAP. So I would expect the first time we tag VWAP that it'll get replaced. Now I'm going to go to the 1 minute chart with zones. It is short side, long side. There it is. So this is the replay version of this chart, not the live version. Here I'm going to bring this in so everyone can see it. So this takes the 1 minute algo and trades it out of the zones. So exact same zones that get carried over from the other chart, right? No difference here. I love this algo. I just think it's fantastic, personally. So you can see it just doesn't take any trades up here. It just, you wouldn't have wanted it taking trades into the single points to begin with, right? So as we roll down, if you had it turned on at the 50-60, it would have taken this trade and you would have gotten stopped. But if you look at the rest of the trades, it would have been, well, it's showing you what it's taking. So long, they got stopped. You'll see this long was out of the zone, so it didn't take the trade. None of those longs fired. It had to be within the zone. You'll get one more trade here in just a second, I think. And there's your next trade that was in the zone. And you can see it got all three scales in this particular case. And pushed from there. I want to point something out. If you do want to note, guys, that when it takes these trades, if it holds down at the swing, what does that swing look like? But the P&L was good. If you would have added the loss upstairs, this would have been, if you had the zone at the 50-60 retrace, which I do not think was a horrible idea. It just swept, right? Your P&L would have been closer to $800 on the day instead of $1,200. That's the difference about where you would have placed the zones. And I really have nothing else to add. That's how it went. So let's go look at the chart and redo the chart for tomorrow. So let's go to the NQ. Here we'll do it off of this. And let's first do the profile. Okay. So I'm going to do this piece by piece. And so here I'm going to erase everything that was in here. Okay, so first I'm going to mark off value area high. This is what we have to get over to go higher, right? And just above value area high, we have all these single prints in here. I'm going to cover those in a second. So value area high, value area low. Prior day's TPO volume point of control and volume point of control. This is the TPO point of control. This is the volume point of control. This is prior day's high. Just mark it off. Very simple. Okay, prior day's high. Let's stretch this out a little bit. So we have value area low is basically at the low of the day. So people are asking exactly how I do this. So this is exactly how I do this. There's the low of the day. Color, red. Okay, so here's prior day's low. So now you have prior day's low, value area high, prior day's high. So the next thing I would mark off is the anomalies within here. Anomaly, 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 anomaly. Okay, you will see the single prints behind this anomaly right here and the single prints in front of us. So I'm not going to put a zone in here because it's too wide. The single prints really run from 25,100 all the way up to 25,170. That is too wide a margin for me to put a zone there, so I'm not going to put a zone there. I'm just going to be aware of it. Tomorrow, I'm going to go look on the hourly if there's something I can fill in there. But this is a zone, 25,192, and again, 25,17 to 25,32. I would expect rejection out of this area. And see how this is a low volume node right behind it here? That I would expect rejection out of. So I want to explain how I do this. Essentially, 25,173 to 25,232, that is a 60 points of resistance. This whole thing, this whole structure becomes a support resistance area. So this is how that zone is going to end up looking. Do I like that? Nope. But that's what it looks like. Okay. And so when you get range expansion, which is what we had today, to the downside, you're going to end up with vast areas that get re-auctioned. But generally the algos, if those of you who are shorting, you would expect to see rejection out of here and then rejection right up here where the single prints are. Okay. I like small single print areas. I don't like big fat single print areas because they tend to get all the way re-auctioned all the way through. So I'm leaving this blank. Okay. And then there's a little single print area right down here. Okay. So because this is coming off the profile, okay, and I'm going to put this zone from here, covering the prior day's low and just below. Okay, so this way if we dip underneath and get the algo to fire up, I'll still catch the trade. And then this is the volume point of control and the TPO point of control. And then this is where this, I'll just be aware, starting from roughly 25,100 to 25,170, I would actually look for that to get re-auctioned. Okay, next I want to mark off the low. See how I barely have a single print right down here. I put a zone right at the low, 24,925. Now, so I know where these zones are coming from before you cover them over. Since I like to do green on the hourly, I'm going to change these all to blue. Okay. So when you look at the chart, you'll know where they're coming from. So blue. Okay, down here, this is a low volume node. That's why I have a zone there. There we go, blue. I don't have any zones down here. You'll see that this actually from 24,984, we need to trade underneath that and trap back above. Otherwise, we're going to trade down to that 24,923. If I was going to put a zone there, I'd actually put the zone slightly underneath from 925 to like 925 to 918, just behind there when I get to my chart. I'll do that. Again, this zone should be blue. There we go. And again, when I get down here, this is single prints, right? This whole area can get auctioned through relatively easily. So there, it's blue now. All this is color blue. I don't have to redo this part because I've already done it. And if we get lower than 24,747, I'll go handle it tomorrow during the day. And the yellow indicates, right? So you'll see this is now value area low. So underneath we still have fair pricing. So what I would do is, in addition, so that I have the information, right? I'm going to put this dashed yellow line. That dashed yellow line means that I am it's a reference for you to go look on the profile chart and notice, oh, this is all fair pricing. And why is that important? Because we can really slide through those areas very easily. So let me summarize this, right? Tonight, tomorrow, the next day, right? This whole area from 25,109 down to 24,984, this whole area can get traded through relatively easily, right? I would expect initial rejection at 25,109, but if we hold above 25,109, if we hold above 25,109, we can auction up all the way up to 25,173, and then it's kind of player's choice between 25,173 and all the way up here at 25,264 if they re-auction it. With specific, so this is the low volume node right here, right? So if I was going to break that down to be specific here, I'll redraw this so no one freaks. It's like this. Zone. Zone. And then low volume node right in there. That's what it looks like. Those are three distinct areas. And so some traders like to try to trade out of that 25,192. What I find is it likes to go just past that, towards that 25,10 and kind of fill that whole hole in and reject. But there's no rule about that, right? And then you have 25,17. And by the way, it's a TPO low volume node, not necessarily a very good volume. The volume point of control low volume nodes all the way at the back right here. So if you want to pinpoint it, you would actually push it towards 25,205 roughly, right? And then there's another low volume node back here at 25,258. So you see I've left wide swaths. I don't have a good way of putting a zone in here, so 25,109 to 25,173. My guess is we're probably going to fill that in more than just get to the bottom and reject it, right? It's just a guess. And then when you get through here, so important rules, you can see that 25,483 down to 25,747, 731, that this area has gotten easily traded through in prior sessions. 1, 2, let's see if there's a prior example to that. So you can see we just keep gapping through this area. Look, we trade all the way through here, all the way down and all the way through here, all the way through back up, all the way through down, all the way through up. Believe the market when the market tells you, hey, we can trade through areas, we can trade through areas. Believe them. Take their word for it. Figure out a way to get positioned so you can push the trade. And then I'll worry about below 24,726. Other than to say, I don't know why I have that there. Other than to say, there is an anomaly here inside fair pricing, but I would look for the traps if we got all the way down here, back above 24,726 if we take that out, right? So that's what the chart looks like. And then what we do next, okay, the next part of the process is, so if you look on the 24 tick, you will now see that those zones are in place. I know where I want to trade out of tonight. Why is this not picking up properly? Let's look here real quick. Dun. Chart number 5. Let's make sure we have this. Oh, I know what it is. F5, 5 and 8. Great. So we just got to go fix up chart number 8. So here's chart number 8, and I am looking for my targets up and my key levels, right? So the first thing I'm going to do when I look at this, right? Okay, so the first thing I see is that this area, this bar right here, is poorly auctioned. We will tend to auction all the way through those hourly bars. I don't want a zone here. So for those of you who want a weak zone, okay, and we're going to remove this. Okay, if you want a weak zone, you can put that weak zone, rejection, acceptance, don't like that. Your weak zone's right there. I hate it. That's what it is. So what does that do? That goes color purple. It's a weak zone. It's a natural target back up if you're targeting something, but it is weak. Why is it weak? Because this bar is poorly auctioned and you can trade straight through that bar. In a weak market, this works. In a strong market, this will not work. Okay, that's the only suggestion I have there, but you can see we launched from this area 1, 2, 3 times. So support resistance, right? If you look up here, I don't have anything above, so again, this becomes weak resistance, right? Okay, when I get down here, see how if you were going to draw support resistance in here, you would draw it from here all the way to over here. Now, there's no one in the room that wants a zone from 25,039 down to 24,960. So we're going to make some changes, okay? This is prior day's low right here. I need to adjust that for whatever reason. Didn't translate over properly. Oh, I see. That existed from today. Now we move to today, which I already have marked off. So fine. I'm going to erase that. And I would put a zone right here from just below the low to about right there. Now you can put another zone nice and tight right over here, but it's quite clear. 1, 2, 3. You really want to get down to that 24,998, 2,500 to find it. So you have to guess a little bit at this. It's artwork. That's where I'm putting it. The next area, this purple zone. So you had rejection here, and a pushback up over here. This is actually all right here. I would actually turn that now into a green zone. Remember, what I actually want to happen is to lose the 24,924, lose it, regain it, backside test, and push. So I'm going to leave this as is. I'm actually going to turn this. Oh, I know why I had it purple. I apologize. So the reason that's going to stay purple is, see this area right over here where we auctioned all the way through. When we auction all the way through one way, we tend to be able to auction through the other way. Now I'm going to show you an example of where it didn't do that. I would have said the same thing back over here, coming back towards the 30th, and I said we can auction all the way through here, right, quite easily, and this would have been a weak zone right over here. So the same rule now applies here. See how this was basically auctioned all the way through relatively easily. The place is to get underneath 24,633, but it doesn't mean that it'll do it. It could end up looking like this. And why did they bounce from there? Because in this case, as I'm pointing out in the room quite regularly, this turned into a 50-60 retrace. Right? And just so you have the whole picture here, from that swing low, okay, so this would be a major swing low, as long as you want to mark it off. So in this poorly auctioned area, see how the 50 retrace is sitting there right at 24,845? So you're probably going to get a response out of that. So I would put a zone there, because most retail traders are going to hunt that 50-60 retrace. So I'm going to put a little purple zone just like this, even though I do not like that area. But that gives me reason to add a location there, right? So that's the reason why there's a zone there. Purple, because it's in a poorly auctioned area. And the 62 retrace already is what I would consider a good zone at 24,746. And then you can draw one more 50-60 retrace. I wouldn't draw that huge one, but I would draw this one, which comes from here, which is also the 138 extension. So I'm going to take this, right click, so I have my points. Okay, now I'm going to draw my same 50-60 retrace here. This is how I do the zones, and it's been a while, so if you want to know how I do them, this is how I do them. So I'm going to come down here. You can agree or disagree. It doesn't really matter to me. This is how I do it, right? And so now I'll have a little purple zone here. Why? Because it's not in my support zone, but I know that's where the 50-60 is. And then here's the other 62 retrace. I already have it zoned off. I just want to remember that that's a good location. So now I've zoned off where the fib traders are trading and where they're going to look for potential response. And I have my zones there. I have my zones based on the hourly, and I have my zones based on prior days lows and prior days highs. Those are the three components: an alpha profile, low volume nodes, and high volume nodes. So now, when you come over and look, right, now you go look at the masterpiece that's been completed, which is this 24 tick, and this is what you end up with. Okay, big white space to trade through here. So now, the thing I don't like about this is see how wide an area this is. 24,933 to 24,890. Okay, that's not a horrible, but it's 50 points. So if you need to tighten that up even further, so the first thing that I would say is within here, this 24,924 is the most important area. And I know this begins a poorly auctioned area underneath, right? So if I keep going back and looking to the left, I can come down and actually look at the price action that took place inside that area. I just keep going back till I find it, and that'll help me. But generally in those areas, the traders should do just fine, right? The purple are weaker than the green ones. So if I need to get rid of that zone, that's a purple zone in there. If you need to get rid of it, that's one to get rid of. The blue and the green are the ones that you want to hold on to, right? And you can see this is going quite a ways back. Let's see how far back we're going till we get into this. Okay, here we are. So now we have a clearer answer, and I can fix this a little bit. Okay, I obviously have an anomaly here at 24,896 to 24,887, and I have this area right here. So I'm going to redraw this a little bit, right? So this is how I'm going to do this. I'm going to erase that zone. I'm going to put a zone, and now I hate this. Value, prior days low, rejection, like this. And I'm going to leave it green because it's a prior days low, which is why you have the 24.94. And that's how I'm going to fix that zone, because I don't want a massive structure there, right? And then when I look down here, I don't like any of this. So now I need to go back and look why I have this like this. So 24,853. Oh, it's a low volume node. So the way you fix that, okay, so the way you're aware of that, I'll leave that as is. The 24,853, that's the top of single prints and the bottom of single prints in there. So I'm going to leave that alone. But what I really want to do is get down to the back of this 25,840 and get the response there. There's no easy way to do that. There's an anomaly here that's valid. It's inside prior fair value, so I'm going to erase that. I'm actually going to leave it. I need to know that that's there. But I wouldn't make that an automatic zone, guys. I'd just be aware there's an anomaly there, right? This I would, this I wouldn't. And then the underneath part of that is all right. I think I'll leave it as is. Usually when I start second guessing it too much, it causes problems. And then single prints down here. So what the zones end up looking like. So let me save this. File. Save as. Compute and wait. And that's what she looks like, right? That's what she looks like for now. So I'll take the chart. And since I don't expect to be down more than 300 overnight, I will leave it like this, and I'll post this for the members. Just take this picture. And you got to realize this covers a lot of points. Like when you spread it out, there's really not that much there. And then I save this, and guys, I will post this. And there's the NQ levels for tomorrow posted out. So that's how I do it. Guys, I'm trading both methods. Again, I cannot suggest or go through how strongly I recommend you have a process that you're following. If you want a higher win rate, trade in these zones. They matter. Trade in the zones and look for the loss of a prior day's low, a 24-hour low, and a recapture. And be patient. There was a lot of ways to make money today, not just one way. And if you traded in the zones, you had a much easier time. So when we get towards the market, hasn't had a correction in quite a while, so the correction could be coming. But either way, I'm not bearish. And then you can attack a little bit more aggressively when we're above VWAP, above the 100 and above the 200 period moving averages, right? So, and at any rate, have a good night, guys. My name is Simon. I'm a Trade and Perform coaching. If you would like to visit the room, email me at TRADEnPerform, TRADE, the letter N, and perform@gmail.com. And I hope that helps somebody out there make some money. So have a great night, guys.